You know, you make me think. I've long taught this general subject in the following terms, that in the progressive era, we see the emergence of what I call the basic grammar and syntax and vocabulary of American political culture for the remainder of the century and beyond. But that the real accomplishments, the real actualization or operationalization of those ideas that take root in the progressive period awaits the mid 20th century. It awaits New Deal, especially World War II, and to a certain degree, Great Society, Civil Rights Movement, and so on. So my interpretation looks a little more orthodox than yours, maybe, but it's not wholly inconsistent with yours. That the progressive era is still the point of origin of this. The question is still on the table, however. What exactly is it that galvanizes those people in the progressive period? One of your chapters, you take a title from a famous work, famous to those of us who deal with this kind of thing, at least by Walter Lippmann, Drift and Mastery.
Right.
And the burden of that book is we need more central governance and control of this runaway economy and in danger of fragmenting society and so on. And some people, including myself, have read Drift and Mastery as an essay supporting somewhat less participatory democracy and more top-down control. I don't think that is your message. So
no.
You read Drift and Mastery differently. So why do you adopt that title as a chapter?
Well, we can either answer this question, but Shailene has been, I would say, worshiping that book for at least 30 years. So why don't you step in, Shailene, and say—
even beyond my admiration for it, but okay.
Yeah, worship is a strong word, but I would say that I don't think you're wrong, David. I do think that that's definitely, I mean, that's in the text for sure, but we have to remember Drift and Mastery was written in 1914, right? Again, on this sort of tail end of the period that we're really describing, not the tail end, but the point at which the progressives were saying, you know, if all this stuff we've been doing on the local level is really going to take hold, it's going to have the weight of the federal government and the resources of the federal government behind it. I mean, and a great example is Jane Addams, one of the heroines of the progressive era, and someone that's been a personal heroine for me. You know, she started settlement houses in Chicago and had this very sort of personalist view of how she might be able to help industrialists see the dangers that they were creating for the children working in their factories and the problems they were creating for families by not paying enough. And she would actually personally approach these industrialists and say, wouldn't you like to do a better job here and change some things so that these kids won't get hurt? And obviously that didn't work. It might have worked in one or two instances, but she had this, shift over the course of her career in which she discovered that when we're talking about certain issues that maybe cross state lines or issues that are about broader economic forces, we need more broad and more national programs. And so I think that that's where that piece of Walter Lippmann's work is coming from, right? But I also think that the real spirit of that piece is for me, the main message of it is the power of agency, right? The power of citizen agency. The idea of Drift and Mastery is that America at the time was in this sort of downward drift, that there were all these forces, outside of the control of individuals, the Industrial Revolution being the main one, right? That were changing life, day-to-day life for people and changing the experience of democracy for people. And the main point of that book is that we don't have to drift. In a democracy, we have agency to reclaim mastery over the future. Now, the particular form of mastery that Lippmann was advocating was this more top-down approach, and that was maybe a product of, again, what had come before and the moment that he was writing the book in. But I think the core insight for today is not, oh, we need more top-down programs. The core insight is we need more mastery. We need more citizens who believe in their ability to take the reins and write the course of American history. Now, what that course will exactly look like remains to be seen. But, again, and drawing on Yuval Levin's work, I think, he's arguing that we need a rethinking and a rebuilding of our institutions from the ground up, not necessarily from the top down. And we definitely share that view.